of my passion. So that's a little scary because I hope you was just over there messing with that. Oh God, okay, what is going on? Alright, hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Renee Elise, and I am going to do a video that is a little bit outside of my norm today, but I'm very, very excited about it. So today's video is something that I don't really share with a lot of people. It's not a secret, but I guess I don't talk a lot about it, but I love to read. I try to do at least one book a month. The past few months haven't really done a good job of it, but I've just had so much going on between work and Vlogmas and just, you know, excuses. So I didn't read as many books as I would have liked to this year, but I did want to share my top 3 books that I've read this year with y'all. I'm sorry, y'all, I cannot stop looking at that Roomba. I am so scared right now. Did you do that? Hey, did you do that? Why are you looking at me? Because I'm looking at you. I'm trying to figure out what's going on. Kids these days, I don't know. Anyways, but I want to share my top 3 books with y'all this year. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm really shook right now. Okay, I'm gonna get through this. All right, so I want to share my top 3 books of this year with y'all and kind of give you a brief synopsis of each one and tell you what I thought about it, and you know, we'll go from there. So I am gonna put these in order. So I'm gonna start backwards. So number 3 for me, I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jeanette McCurdy. So I wanted a kid to grow up, you know, in the age where all we did was watch Nickelodeon, you know, Rocket Power and Rugrats and all that. And then with Disney Channel, you know, Lizzie McGuire and That's So Raven, etc. So I remember iCarly, and I remember when they did the reboot, wondering why Sam was not going to be part of the reboot, you know. And you know, I put it out of my mind because I'm just like, you know, whatever, like, who knows, and wondering why I hadn't seen her in a whole lot of things since, you know, the show ended. So y'all, this book was insane. Like, trigger warning, if you are, you know, if talking about abuse, especially like, you know, being abused by a parent is something that's very triggering for you, I would not recommend this book because she never uses the word abuse, or she uses the word abuse towards the end of the book, like when she's an adult kind of coming to terms with her feelings. But it's very clear to like us, the readers, that this little girl is being abused from a young age. She's being emotionally, you know, manipulated. She's being forced to work long hours on things that she's not passionate about, because again, that's why she hasn't really done a whole lot of acting, because she doesn't want to act. If I'm not mistaken, she wants to write. So just very triggering hearing some of the stuff like she talks about, like, or she gives an example of like her mom writing her an email, and it's so nice. Well, it's not even nice nasty, it's just nasty. And then at the end she tells her she needs money for a new fridge. It's crazy. So I really enjoyed this book. I think I read it in a day and a half, and it has like what, like almost 300 pages, or it does have 300 pages. She talks about eating disorders. She talks about relationships. She talks about so much in this book, and it was very insightful, and it was very entertaining. It didn't feel like you were being preached at, but it was nice to see her reflect back on all of the things that she's experienced and, you know, discuss that. It was very sad though, just because seeing, you know, when you grow up, you think that everybody has the same experiences you have, like they live the same way you have. It wasn't until I got maybe to middle school that I understood that, or excuse me, no, that's not true. It wasn't until I got to elementary school that I understood that everybody didn't have a mom and a dad in their home like I did. And by no means am I trying to put anyone down, but just me growing up and realizing that's not the norm. Realizing that everybody didn't have a village of people around them, you know, to help their parents and to also protect you and to look out for your well-being, it was very, very jarring. And even though I understand that as an adult, reading about how children are being, you know, abused or neglected is very hard to see and hear. And you know, I feel bad. I'm happy that she's taking her power back and she's doing what she wants to do with her life. But again, very, very, very sad. But it gets happy at the end. But this was a great read, y'all. A great read. The only reason why it's at the bottom of the list is because I'm doing the top 3, and I read some good books this year, y'all. I read some good books. My second favorite book that I read this year was The Gift of Fear by Gavin DeBecker. Y'all, I found this book via Reddit, and I am actually probably gonna reread this next year because it was such a great read, especially for people that suffer from anxiety like myself. If you are somebody that is very anxious in situations, this book kind of helps you soothe your fears. Because I think when you think of fear has a lot of negative connotations. Like, you know, you being scared is a bad thing, you know, or you being cautious is a bad thing. But this book helps you realize why, again, it's called The Gift of Fear, why fear is a good thing. One of the first stories that kicks off the book is a young lady is going home at night, coming from the grocery store. She drops or a bag rips and her cat food rolls down the stairs, and a young man brings the stuff up and is like, oh, you know, I'll help you up to your place. Like, and she's thinking, you know, I really shouldn't do this, but he does certain things that make her feel more comfortable and make her feel like she's being paranoid. So she lets the dude come up to her house, and he ends up, again, trigger warning, sexual assault. He ends up assaulting her for hours. And the morning comes and he's telling her he's gonna let her go, but she notices that he closes a window, like her bedroom window, and he is digging in the kitchen and looking for knives. So she wraps herself up in a sheet and like kind of shoots past him and goes into her neighbor's, her across the hall neighbor's door, because she knows that they leave their door unlocked, and then she calls the police, and the man ends up getting caught. And it turns out, you know, he had killed a woman a couple weeks earlier. And so she's talking to the guy who wrote this book, because this dude like does security and, you know, figuring out how to protect some of his clients from people that have stalked them in the past. And he's talking to her and he asks her, you know, how did you know that he was gonna kill you? And she's basically like, you know, he shut the window and I knew he was doing that so nobody can hear me scream. And then he was going through my drawers in the kitchen. I knew he was looking for a knife. And she goes back to the night when she met him, and she realized that, you know, she told the dude she didn't need help, but he kept insisting. And so something that he talks about, which I think affects us women a lot, not saying that it doesn't affect men, but I think it's something that primarily affects women, is that the way a lot of men get their victims is by playing on their emotions. You know, a lot of women don't want to be seen as mean. We look at it as, you know, we don't want anybody to think we're mean or stuck up. So we typically might, you know, accept things or deal with things that we wouldn't deal with usually, just because we don't want to have to wear that label. But what he's saying is, you know, it's okay to not want to talk to the guy that stopped you in the parking lot. You know, a lot of men are just like, well, how are we supposed to meet women? But at the end of the day, if I'm 5'3", if I'm a woman in a dark parking garage and a man rolls up on me, I'm grabbing my mace and putting my keys in between my fingers, because I don't know you. I don't know what your intentions are. Sure, you might be coming over here to just get my phone number or to get my Instagram or whatever, but you could also be coming over here to force me to get into my own trunk or something like that. I do not know that. It might sound like I gave y'all the entire book, but again, I did not. This was an amazing book. It's about 350 pages, but again, I got through this in about 3 days. Y'all, go get this book. You need it. because like I said, I'm definitely gonna reread it next year for sure. But now least, drum roll please. Bam. All right, this was actually a reread for me, but this, wow. All the Young Men by Ruth Coker Burks. This young lady Ruth was known as Ruthie, and what happened was she was visiting a sick friend back in the 70s when we didn't even know what AIDS was, and she sees an AIDS patient. You know, she ends up in their room because she's visiting her friend almost daily, and runs into an AIDS patient again. At this time, no one knows what it is, so he's isolated. People are scared. They think that, you know, you can get AIDS, or that you can get this new disease from breathing the same air or from touching the person. We don't really know how it's transmitted, you know. So a lot of scariness, and a lot of people with AIDS and HIV back in those early days were treated like crap. Unfortunately, a lot of them died alone. A lot of them died without resources. They were disowned by their families because they were gay, because they were sick. And so what this young lady does is she literally takes care of all of the gay men in her area that need help. If you were disowned by your family, or she would help them find resources. She would let them live with her. She would find ways to make big pots of food so that she could make sure that these guys were eating and that they were healthy. She stepped in as a surrogate mother. I remember even the first dude that I was telling you about, he was crying out for his mom, and she went to go tell the nurse, hey, he wants to speak to his mom. And the nurse was like, girl, the mom don't want nothing to do with him. And so she literally pretends to be his mom to bring him comfort as he's dying. Which was something that really touched me. The amount of compassion and empathy in this book. I cried several times, even rereading it. Just, I have friends that are gay, and I don't know if I've discussed this on my channel, but I'm bi. I would say that for me, being a bi woman, I have the leisure of, you know, I go out and I look like a straight woman. You wouldn't necessarily know that I'm bisexual by looking at me. So I do have that to my advantage, whereas for some gay men, there are gay men that in order for them to fully express themselves, they don't look, they can be very flamboyant, which can be off-putting for people. But it's just crazy to me that you could carry a baby for 9 months and decide that you don't love the baby, or that he's not worthy of care anymore because you don't like who he sleeps with, or that somebody can be dying and they spend their last days, you know, alone and scared in a hospital bed. And you know, these parents are, you know, sisters, and everyone doesn't care because of the lifestyle that they chose for themselves. So it was just amazing to see that this woman, this stranger, more willing to provide comfort and empathy and, you know, help in these people's time of need than their own family and friends were. And I didn't mean to get emotional, but that's just crazy to me. Like I couldn't imagine my baby coming to me and telling me that they're gay or that they're trans, and me not wanting anything to do with them. Like I want my kids to be able to tell me everything. I didn't feel like I really had that with my parents coming up. Like I didn't feel like I could really talk to them like that. So I want my kids to feel like they can come to me, and they can come to their dad if they're in trouble, or, you know, if they're curious about something. This book really stuck with me. Very, very powerful book. Very, very powerful. I think everyone should read it at least once. So again, All the Young Men by Ruth Coker Burks. And this book is, let's see, all these books I've been giving y'all are about 350 pages. Now this book I read in like a day and a half. I think I stopped reading it at 11 o'clock at night and woke up the next day and just finished it because it was so good. And this lady is actually active on Twitter. You can reach out to her. if you want to, you know, talk about her book, or I saw she will answer questions sometimes about people from the book or some of the experiences that she's had. So yes, guys, definitely do that. So that is my top 3 for my books that I read this year. What did you think about my choices? Are you going to check any of them out? Was there a book that came out this year or before that you think should have been included on my list? Definitely let me know. As always, guys, if you enjoyed this content, please make sure that you like, make sure that you comment, make sure that you subscribe, tell a friend to tell a friend, and I will be back tomorrow with another video. Bye.